Has Bitcoin officially bottomed out? It's kind of the question that everyone's asking, especially with this continued kind of sideways trading that we're seeing with Bitcoin still stuck around this 66 to $68,000 price point. Now, on top of that, what has been somewhat surprising is the lack of major reactions in normal assets just in general outside of crypto with major news catalyst when the whole tariff catalyst. Now obviously there's more to the whole tariff situation, even with the whole situation with Iran, earlier today with Mexico. The markets simply aren't drastically overreacting. And I think there's probably a couple of reasons why. You don't have as much retail right now. Almost all the retail is kind of gone. But we're going to talk about, is this right now the bottom? Are we in the same place we were when Bitcoin was at like 18,500, where essentially sellers are exhausted, and soon enough buyers are going to step in for a next move up? Or is this just a short-term pause before further downtrend? So we're going to talk about some of the things happening this week, what you need to keep an eye on, and one major level that could change the direction for Bitcoin. All that and more in today's video. If you're new here, my name is Alex. Talk about crypto, crypto news, crypto passive income. If you enjoy content like that, consider subscribing. If you enjoyed this video, smash the like. Without further ado, let's end the video. So this happened earlier today when the Mexican special forces essentially took out one of the leaders of the cartel. His name's El Mencho. Probably butchered that, but either way, this is a pretty dramatic event, right? We're in the U.S. This is directly on our southern border, pretty close to our southern border, and this isn't just a cartel and the Mexican forces just clashing. This is a international airport that has been significantly impacted, especially when travel. So you had a cartel essentially take over an airport down in Mexico, an international airport. This is not a small scale airport. And so you can see some of the videos of people fleeing on the tarmac, trying to just get away from the situation. So obviously just a lot of unrest in that area. And we already know about the unrest that we're already starting to see in Iran. But yeah, I mean, when you're adding everything that's kind of already built up leading into this week, because this week there's a lot of expectation that something will happen between the US and Iran. We'll talk about why. But, you have this just fueling the fear in the world. A lot of things happening. And, a lot of questions as to, why has things been so delayed? Especially, most of the eyes are currently on this US-Iran situation. And, right now, I think one of the reasons that people have been waiting for this to happen, because they're just waiting to see what does happen, because there's a lot of speculation of this being a very small scale to then build up over time, potentially. So just kind of grow in numbers and impact if the first attempts aren't successful to have the result that is being sought, or this is just going to start off a massive from the get-go full scale, because everything that has been amassed in the Middle East and in Europe to stage for this event is big enough, and in fact bigger than the likes of Desert Storm. So when a lot of people are wondering at what scale and when, a lot of questions obviously, and investment assets don't like questions being unanswered. And so there causes a lot of uncertainty. And typically you see assets that people go to in times of uncertainty and fear, likes of commodities, gold, silver, doing really well. In fact, gold is doing extremely well. It has now surpassed back over 5,000, climbing to 5,100. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out this week. And could gold go back to its prior all-time highs? I think there's a potential. We're going to look at that in a second. But here's the thing that everyone's going to be looking at this week. I think the biggest thing that most people are waiting on is the Olympics. Olympics having finalized, finishing today. I think that kind of opens up the door. There's not as much international conflict when there's international games happening. So either way, I think a lot of attention. This is actually a weekly chart, which shows you how insanely strong the buyers are for gold. This is a weekly chart, and still, this is off a 20-day. This is the 20-day exponential moving average, and it is still significantly above that. I mean, we don't have a candle. We touched that on right here, saw some major support. I'm not going to draw too much lines because I don't really want to focus on gold. But this was something that was very unprecedented, that, you know, we saw this major correction, but the buyback has been insane. I mean, you're going from 4,400 back to 5,100. And we simply are not seeing that with Bitcoin, right? You can see even after this major correction, we tried to buy back, we tried to bounce, only to have it go from, you know, 94, 95,000 down to 60,000, right? Gold, on the other hand, has this correction and is right back up and on its way back to 5,600. And whether or not that happens, I don't know. I think some of the uncertainty currently happening in the market could drive it upwards. The weekly candle, in fact, literally just opened for trading. So you can see that candle forming right here. In fact, the market just opened a few minutes ago. So we're starting to see, you know, where is this going to be headed? Short term, you know, it looks quite good. We're already opening up above where we closed. So obviously, a lot of the uncertainty happening around the world driving the price higher. And I think here's the thing that most people need to be paying attention to. We've talked about this as well before in the past, is this weekly candle for the likes of Bitcoin. This is sitting currently at the 200-day exponential moving average, which obviously is going to be a significant level of support. And it's also right there alongside in that pocket that we've talked about, where we saw the pocket here in early 2024, and where we see the all-time highs of 2021. They're at 66, this was 65,000, this was at 69,000. You know, this is going to be, just from a historical standpoint, a strong level of support, just this range alone. And then you add that to the fact that it's also sitting on the 200-day exponential moving average. I think a huge sign of potential reversal is if this candle turns green, or the next candle is green and we close above, which would mean we need to go above 70,000, ideally to about 71, 72,000. And we could be at that point seeing a reversal. But this is going to be something that is very, very important to keep an eye on. As you can see, gold just absolutely tearing it up. And that's the thing. And I've talked about this and I made this point multiple times, that when there is uncertainty, if we're at a time where the market was favorable for Bitcoin, I think we would be seeing Bitcoin trying to make its way back to 100,000. The market simply is just not currently favorable for the likes of Bitcoin. And I think that's why people aren't rushing to it as a safe haven. But at the same time, you know, the thing you don't ever know is when is the bottom, right? Because maybe this is the bottom. Maybe this is this right here for us, right? We've seen this massive correction. Mind you, this was when we were sideways for this period of time. This is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So this is 2 months just in this alone. A solid 2 months, which is like a year or 2 years in crypto. You age super fast. But either way, this is 2 months worth of crypto completely sideways, where people are asking the search terms that we're trending. Is Bitcoin dead? Is Bitcoin going to zero? And we're starting to see that once again. But obviously there are those mixed signals because people don't truly believe we've hit capitulation. We talked about that in the last video. I think capitulation would be at 50,000. That's just me personally speaking, sticking around the 50,000 range for a couple of weeks. And then in the next cycle, seeing a move back up to 250K. But that's the big question, is have we hit this area yet? I think right now, unfortunately, we've seen this. We haven't gone all the way down here. And mind you, this was a $25,000 Bitcoin. It dropped almost 70%, or if I'm doing my math right, but dropped another 50% or so. So, you know, I think there is that opportunity for capitulation. So the biggest thing in this instance is don't ever leverage. Don't use too much leverage so you get liquidated. But I think, you know, fortunately and unfortunately, a lot of people who got liquidated in the past couple of months going all the way back to October 10th, there's just not a lot of money to continue to be liquidated. So when that kind of sell pressure dies off, we start to kind of see where can we, because shorts are going to have to cover, and eventually that buying pressure alongside of people buying into the dip, seeing the market opportunity, seeing the ways that they can capitalize on fear in the world happening. They're going to a safe haven asset. All those things combined could drive Bitcoin higher. But you are going to see other companies out there that continue to sell that don't help the situation. So Bitdeer's Bitcoin treasury drops to 0 after the miner liquidated nearly 1,000 Bitcoins. So a lot of times these will go OTC. So Bitdeer reported 0 Bitcoin holdings as of February 20th, completing an 8-week drawdown of nearly 2,000 Bitcoin at year's end. Bitdeer is a pretty substantial as far as a size company. And so, this is going to be, interesting to see kind of how this plays out. But, a lot of the seesaw effect, right? Seesaw back and forth, up and down, up and down. A lot of people wondering, is this right here, or is there further potential downside, and we're maybe up here? That's kind of the question that everyone's asking. But I think, from a safe haven asset, why would you buy Bitcoin when you can buy gold? And that's kind of the question right now that is the most sensible question, is why buy Bitcoin if you can buy gold? If you can buy one asset that constantly, for the time being, is going up during the times of uncertainty, or do you want to buy an asset that unfortunately recently has been heavily manipulated for the last couple of months, and people are losing their entire portfolios off of liquidations? Those are kind of the decisions you have to make. And so unfortunately, most people are looking at the likes of gold as a better alternative to Bitcoin. And until that changes, this chart won't turn green. And so I think it's going to be interesting to see kind of how things play out. A huge week for the world. This isn't just a huge week for the United States. This is a huge week for the world. Going from Mexico, you're seeing the likes of Iran, countries in Europe being involved, countries in the Middle East being involved. There is a very, very large scale macro economic worldwide events that are going to be causing a ton of volatility in the likes of Bitcoin. But I think if you're looking at opportunities, I'd love to be able to, DCA into some Bitcoin. But if you're looking at a trade, longing something, right now, gold is where things are right now. Obviously, very, very extended. But people would say the same thing when it was at $3,000 or $4,000. It's all just about when you buy and how long you plan to hold. So either way, what's interesting is gold is breaking above this resistance here at 51.23. So the next kind of line of resistance can be at 5,200, and then all the way back up here to 5,600. So maybe gold makes a new all-time high with all this uncertainty. I'd love to hear your thoughts on what's happening this week. What do you expect? What are you planning for? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Enjoyed this video, smash up the like. You enjoy content like this, consider subscribing. Until next time, guys, stay invested.